Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? How are you, Shaun?
I'm doing good. We're ready to jump into the first set of our lessons here on PSU In Focus, and I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go, Mike?
I'm ready. Let's get
All
it
right.
started.
So, the first thing we're going to talk about, this is the getting started, guys. We talked about this before in our opener. We said it's not just about having a camera. So, we're going to go through a lot of different things. The first one is our first module. It's called the opportunity. In this, we're going to be talking about four different things, four lessons. This is the beginner level. Again, even if you're not a beginner, you might find things in here that are going to help you. So, don't just skip over it because you think you're not a beginner. So we're going to identify youth sports photography ranks because it's the number one profit opportunity right now, and it's always growing. So the next thing we're going to be doing is mapping our seasonal revenue cycle and build toward a year-round income. So it's not just seasonal because a lot of people think it is, but it really isn't when you really dive into it. Then we're going to distinguish between the account types and sizes. Not one account is the same. It's a lot of different sizes. So we're going to go through that. And then the final thing we're going to talk about in this first lesson is we're going to assess the mindset and commitment required to succeed in volume sports photography. So, lesson number one, and this is where I'm going to push it over to Mike to give you a little bit more information about it, is the youth sports photography landscape and what it looks like today. So, Mike, let us know what we're looking at when we talk about youth sports photography and what does that really mean?
Yeah, since we deal with photographers all day long, every day, we get a lot of questions. There's a lot of changes. And one of the questions is, what does the future look like? So I actually did a newsletter about this several weeks ago. So if you want, I'll show you or put a link in the show notes so that you can take a look at that. But just going through the entire future over the next 10 years of the projected growth. And what you're looking at here is the number of kids currently participating in youth sports. And they're showing 27.3 million kids. That's 55.4% of youth participating in some type of youth sports. The good news is the projection over the next 10 years is increasing. So the national goal is to have 63% of the youth participating in youth sports. And so if you go to that article, because we're not going to spend as much time on it in this video, but the trajectory is really good over the next 10 years for the future of volume sports photography as far as number of kids participating. So it's a
You know,
really, really
the
good opportunity right now.
the one thing that really jumps out to me, Mike, when I'm looking at that is the one that you've got highlighted in a red outline, where it's multiple sport athletes. 65% of them are multiple sports, which means you've got a really great crossover.
Yeah, you've got kids that play baseball in the spring and then they're playing football in the fall. So they're playing multi-sport athletes. But they got, in most cases, you got a pretty dedicated family to do that really cares a lot about their kids who buy pictures. So
That's true.
but check out that if you want to go deeper on this, you can check out that newsletter, and I'll link to it here in the notes. So if you want to look at that, and there's others in there. While you're in there, poke around. There's some good stuff in there. All right, so the why youth sports photography, why this business model works. And remember, we spent years and years in the portrait senior market, with a full-fledged studio doing families and children's and boudoir and everything for 15 plus years. And as that market changed, we started changing. And this model works really well because, so number one, it's reoccurring revenue, which means you book a league, baseball league this spring. As long as you do a good job, you're going to have them again next spring. And some of them go 2 times a year. They'll do spring baseball and fall baseball. And
Yeah,
some of the
down here in
leagues,
Florida, we're year round down here in Florida.
yeah, it's literally year round. So they're either doing spring baseball, fall baseball, and then travel ball and all stars. And some of the leagues that don't just have baseball, they have multi sports. They may have baseball and football and basketball and all of these things. So they're literally year round themselves, depending on whether it's city rec department or somebody just focuses on baseball. Um, yeah, one of the other things was the prospects in this market are really easy to find. Um, compared to other markets, it's really easy to identify the prospects as far as your dance schools, your gymnastic schools, your youth leagues. They're easy to identify compared to somebody that's doing mental health therapy or somebody that's consulting for if you're trying to sell private jet charters. They're hard to find these people. That's not the case in this market. They're easy to find.
Yeah, just look for your local ballpark.
Yeah, and now with the internet, you can find most of these people on Google, and we'll go
Yep.
deeper on that when we get into this. This is a getting started class, but we've got other courses on going deep into sales and marketing and stuff. But anyway, compounding is so you make one sale, and you've got hundreds and sometimes thousands of sales. So you sell one, you're selling to the league. But
Hmm.
that league may have 500 buyers. So you sell to the league and you've got 500 families or 500 players participating in that league. So it's really compounds. You only make one sale, you get 500 sales. So that's pretty nice component of it too.
Yeah, a lot of people think that they just, they're chasing parents. I guess is the best way to put it. They go out to a park and they chase parents trying to find teams or even chasing teams. You know, go into a team and say, "Hey, do you want us to take your photos?" No reason to do that if they're part of an organization. You book the organization and you get all of the team. You don't have to go team by team.
Yeah. In most cases, the league's making the buying decision as far as what photographer they're going to use. When we go into fundraising and things like that, if you're new to this market, it may not make sense now, but we go into fundraising, you'll see how all those ties together. Um,
Yeah.
Cash flow
Well, you,
is go ahead, Sean.
well, real quick, Mike. Even in travel ball, they're still part of an organization. So if you're looking at travel ball, they're still part of not necessarily a little league, but they're still part of an organization that has multiple teams in it. So even travel ball, works in that compounding.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so travel. When we started doing it, there wasn't that many travel ball teams. Now travel ball is huge in our area. It's absolutely huge, and it's growing. And they buy a lot of banners, which is something else
Hmm.
we'll talk about down the road. So we talked about compounding. Now talk about cash flow. And as far as markets go, business markets, and this is a business. Cash flow can be really quick. So we could sell in December, January, and be shooting in March. So that's pretty quick cash flow.
Yeah.
There are markets that have incredibly long sales cycles. I I was at a hotel. This is probably a year and a half ago, and traveling by myself, and I was in the lounge, and the guy sitting next to me, and I've been in sales my whole life. Um, and the guy sitting next to me sold elevators, and he said the average sales cycle is like 10 to 15 years, because an elevator lasts 20, 25 years. So you make a sales call today and they may not need your product for 15 more years. So his sales cycle is really long. It takes really long to reach cash flow. Um, Not the case here.
That,
You can
that's
literally
definitely
sell
that's
today
definitely an
and be
up
shooting.
and
Yeah,
it's literally an up and down market.
it's yeah, and then we'll go into trying to fill the gaps, but the cash flow can be quick. If you're trying to generate cash flow quick in your business. And as far as what we do, it's the highest dollar per hour of almost anything we do. Um,
Yeah.
because I did a class. This is gonna make me really sound old. I did a class back in the PMA days, and the title of the class was $3,000 per hour because that's what we were making per hour doing youth sports because, you're dealing with multiple photographers shooting at the same time. And that was the average. So you make a lot of dollars per hour, in this volume work.
Right.
So let's see here. So this is just ballpark. Obviously, your mileage will vary depending on the demographics and your location, but this gives you an average. So what we're looking at as far as league sports, school sports, leagues, depending on your area, and it could be anywhere from to $40 a player average. And there's things you can do to help increase averages, but if you got 350 player league, you're probably going to be somewhere around $12,000, and I think that's like a $34 average, which isn't uncommon. Some people are running higher averages. Some people in different demographics are running lower average. But again, this is a ballpark. So realistically, you could be, and if you're sales focused, you could be at $150,000 in sales in 12 to 18 months. And we've had people do it. Remember Don, when he came to our first PSU live workshop, he had zero business. And I
Wow.
think within 3 years, he was at like 600,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about your approach and how you do it. A lot of people try to undercut other people and go for the low to get in the door, but unfortunately, you start low, you get low. You got to let your work and your quality speak for itself, and put a good price on it. But yeah, it's totally doable. Anybody who's not doing something like this is obviously either undercutting their prices, or they're just not organized to the point where they know how to maximize their profits.
And he was sales focused.
Right.
Yeah, and that was really the key to it is he was a salesperson first and a photographer second. And he followed the plan and he put his head down and he went to selling. And I know I'm looking forward to your angry tweets and your comments, but it can be done. And I know because we have a lot of people that are around 100,000 a year and they can't get over that hump. But it literally is a sales and marketing business. But you can do really, really well at it. So let's wrap this up with common mistakes. And this is things that we see. And again, we deal with photographers. We've been in this industry forever, and we deal with photographers all day long, day in and day out. So common misconceptions are thinking you need to be a sports photographer. And it's really, you need to be a business person to be in this business. And there is a shift in the marketplace where there is some more creative work going on, but it's not typically portrait work. It's volume work, and it's more about being having systems and being organized and have a sales and marketing plan to go get that business. So
Yeah.
don't let the fact that you're not a sports photographer hold you back.
Yeah, Mike, I think the key there, and I think what a lot of people may get lost, and hopefully, we get them angled the right direction is, this whole thing we're talking about is volume. And you hit it right on the head. You said a lot of people are doing creative stuff, and there's nothing wrong with the creative, taking 10, 15 minutes a kid to make this awesome photo and selling it at a premium. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about volume. We're talking about lining up the kids, taking those individuals. We're talking about shooting 500 to 10 to 1,000, kids in a weekend. You can't spend 15 to 20 minutes a kid and do volume. So there's two different sides to that, and moving forward in this lesson plan, we need to make sure that the viewers understand, you guys understand that we are talking about volume sports, not like you said, like it says there, it's uh, not going to be that 10 to 15 minutes a kid kind of situation.
Yeah, and when we get into some of the other lessons, we'll go deeper on some of these concepts and explain it in more detail. And the business structure and things like that. So we'll skip on here, but we'll circle back around to that.
Right.
So the other misconception is going into a market and thinking the market is locked up. And the reality is everybody has a photographer. Everybody already has a photographer. But yes, that is true because every league is taking pictures, which is a really, really good thing. But you still have an opportunity. So don't look at the market and say, well, everybody has a photographer. Of course they do, because there's a high demand for this product. So everybody is doing photography. And it's a zero-sum game. Which means, there's only one winner. It's either you or somebody else. It's literally zero sum. So you just got to get out there, and we'll go through that in more detail too. And then the other one
Yeah.
misconception. Sorry, jump in.
Yeah. What I was gonna jump in and say on that last one is, we had a good story about a league in our area. They had a photographer. We kept looking at it and go, "Oh, that photographer's been doing it for 20 years." Well, that doesn't mean that photographer's been doing a good job for 20 years. And when we came in and pitched the system that we had, the products that we offered, they dropped them because they never had another option. So just because they have a photographer doesn't mean that they're not looking for other options.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different things you can do to open those doors and get your foot in the door. So it's don't think it's locked up because it's not. And the last one we'll leave you with is waiting until everything is perfect. And by nature, I'm a perfectionist. I get it. But if you wait until 100% everything's perfect, you will never start. So don't think that everything's going to ever be perfect because, we've been doing this for over 25 years and we're constantly reinventing ourselves and changing processes and improving on things. You never get done. It's kind of like the website. Is it done? No, it literally never gets done because you're always updating it and modifying it and changing things and adding products and deleting products that aren't working well anymore. So I would just say book the account. And we're within the next couple lessons within this module, we will talk about which accounts to look at, which ones to book. But we'll leave you with this. You know, you can do this. So book that account.
That's right. Go get it. Because if you wait till everything's perfect, I wouldn't have 2 kids right now.
All right, guys. Thank you. We will see you in the next one.